What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we've talked a couple of times around this whole Blue Box conspiracy where Kojima is involved with Blue Box Studios and Abandon is really Silent Hill. Well, I thought we'd all sort of move past that, at least until yesterday when they pulled everyone right back in with another weird message, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Microsoft and their fourth quarter financial results, especially with the gaming sector, as it looks like the Xbox Series has broken a big record for them. And we're also going to be talking about Activision Blizzard, as it looks like Bobby Kotick has now posted a response to that lawsuit with some pretty convenient timing. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Super Monkey Ball. We do have the new Super Monkey Ball game coming out here in a couple of months, and they did want to take to Twitter to show off a feature for it, which we can see here. This under the Super Monkey Ball account, saying the Nintendo Switch version of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania will feature gyroscopic controls. We can also confirm it'll be running at 60 FPS. This was a question that was coming up. I don't know if it's because of trailers or what, but it did look like the PlayStation version was going to be 60 FPS, and people were wondering if that would be the same on the Switch. It does appear to be, and it's actually pretty cool to have some of the older different mini games and stuff from the Super Monkey Ball games on like the GameCube brought up here to the Switch with gyro controls as well. Some were saying that online that the Japanese account had also confirmed that Steam and PlayStation will have gyro controls, and that makes sense considering Steam supports that, and we know obviously the PlayStation controller, the DualSense, or the PS4 controller has gyro built in, but just an extra feature here for some of the older Super Monkey Ball mini games that we really enjoyed. Also, with the success of Astro's Playroom, which is an awesome game from Team Asobi, a lot of us have been wondering what's next for them. Are they going to tackle like a big time Astro game? Well, it looks like they're at least bringing more and more people on board for a certain type of game. We can head over here. This was posted up on LinkedIn, where it looks like a game designer has been posted up for Team Asobi a couple of weeks ago. It says, work centered around level design. Your role will be to make a variety of levels for a 3D action game, each providing great tempo and creative situations. Your work also includes generating gameplay ideas and supervising their implementation. They go on further to also mention humor being involved with some of these different level designs. All this, I mean, come on. They have to be doing a big Astrobot game, right? The big thing I'm trying to figure out is if it's going to be tied to the next PlayStation VR headset, as I mean, that's what they did with Astrobot before. They tied it to the first PlayStation VR headset, and I'm sure Team Asobi come up with some really cool things that they can do with the PlayStation VR 2 headset, especially after what they were able to do with the DualSense. Astro's Playroom is an awesome introduction to that controller and all of the different things that it can do, but I still see Astro as a really cool mascot that Sony could have for the PlayStation brand in general. It just needs that big 3D game that they can put out there, like 3D platformer, and it's not necessarily tied to VR and can be something that goes more mainstream. I mean, it would be cool to see it because the first one was awesome in VR, but if they really want to grab that overall mainstream audience, it's got to just be a standalone release on the PlayStation 5, no headset required, and see how it does there. Oh, and it looks like Nintendo hasn't forgotten about the 3DS as they put out another update. We can head over here to Oatmeal Dome, where they say version 11.15.0-47 has been released for all regions. Official Japanese patch notes state stability. It appears to update the internet browser, possibly fixing an exploit, and recovery mode's SSL system component. And it's not surprising for Nintendo to go back and just kind of really iron out any exploits that are still left over for the 3DS. We know they participate in the HackerOne program, where people who know about these exploits and how they work can then bring them to Nintendo and get paid a bounty for it. And as long as these devices like the Wii U or the 3DS still connect to Nintendo's network, they're also going to continue releasing patches to make sure that the security is as good as they can get it. There's still soft mod exploits and all of this, but until those systems are officially discontinued and cut off from the network, I'd still expect some random firmware updates here and there. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this Blue Box Studios conspiracy where Kojima is behind the scenes pulling the strings. At least that's what a bunch of people online still believe. And I mean, Blue Box is really playing into this. They can't keep saying, why does everyone keep linking us to Kojima and like Silent Hill if they keep putting these kind of messages out there. First though, Let's start with the initial tweet that they released. We can see this here. They say the real-time experience app will be available in Japan on August 10th, along with the introduction opening teaser. The app requires PS Plus membership in Germany due to legal requirements. Preload available on July 9th. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. They're just getting everyone ready for this real-time experience app. That's right, for Abandoned, Blue Box apparently is the first, I guess, studio with this game to have a real-time experience for the PS5. I assume it's going to use 3D audio and show off the visuals better, and also have like the advanced haptic feedback in play there. But then this tweet comes out and everyone online exploded because, I mean, take a look at this. Are you ready? We are. And then we see Abandoned real-time experience with a blurred image of a person with an eye patch in the background. And yes, that's some very familiar looking text, isn't it? There, the font in particular. Yeah, bit of a reference there to Metal Gear. And this is what I mean with Blue Box right now. I mean, I do believe they are legitimately a smaller indie studio who is just releasing a game, and somehow they were chosen, I guess, to try to play around with the idea of a real-time experience. I think it is something that Sony will work to do as they go along. It certainly beats having to try to watch a trailer through YouTube, like 1080p compressed and all this. If you can download a real-time experience that gives you a more native look at the game with all these features that Sony has implemented into the PS5 with that 3D audio and advanced haptic feedback, it makes sense. It's a better way to at least show the game off to you initially and try to get you to buy it, right? But like looking at this tweet here where it just, like, why would you put that out there if you've spent months now saying we are not at all connected to Kojima or Silent Hill, even though they put out a tweet basically like referencing Silent Hill for the name of a game, or I don't know, a character, or who knows there. But it doesn't exactly look like a studio who is trying to separate themselves from this whole situation. Looks like they want to play into it more and more. And I mean, really, if you're a small indie studio and you get a lot of this buzz because of this so-called connection that people are forming between you and Kojima, yeah, if you play into it, you're going to get more and more views. I mean, we're talking about it right now, aren't we? Also, I want to point this out because this was an odd one. If you take a look at Norman Reedus over on Instagram, seems to have posted up a video of Robbie the Rabbit. At least that's what it looks like from here. It's a very weird video. I mean, got a ton of views there, and it seems to be referencing something with Silent Hill. Robbie the Rabbit showed up in Silent Hill 3, and from there was also in several other Silent Hill games as kind of just a callback to the series there, I guess. But like, looking at this, and then we see the Blue Box stuff, connections are being made all over the place that probably don't actually exist. I do think something Silent Hill related will be coming up here in the future. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to do with Blue Box, but who knows at this point? Because Blue Box can't say, hey, why does everyone think we're connected to Silent Hill and Kojima? I don't know, it's because you keep posting tweets like these, but we'll find out, I guess, as we get closer to that real-time experience and see what Abandon actually is. Next up, let's talk about Activision Blizzard, because a lot has happened over the last 24 hours. Like I said, this story is going to be ongoing for quite some time, but we can head over to Eurogamer, where they say Activision Blizzard employees planning walkout following company's abhorrent response to discrimination lawsuit. Going further, say we call on the executive leadership team to improve conditions for employees at the company, especially women. Now, this walkout is scheduled for today, July 28th, and that'll be taking place between 10 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific. But yesterday, we did get a response from Bobby Kotick. This was released on the investor's website, go figure, and it's a letter from CEO Bobby Kotick to all employees. We can see it here. They start out by saying, this has been a difficult and upsetting week. I want to recognize and thank all those who have come forward in the past and in recent days. I so appreciate your courage. Every voice matters, and we will do a better job of listening now and in the future. Our initial response to the issues we faced together and to your concerns were, quite frankly, tone deaf. It is imperative that we acknowledge all perspectives and experiences and respect the feelings of those who have been mistreated in any way. I am sorry that we did not provide the right empathy and understanding. We are committed to long-lasting change, effective immediately. We will be taking the following actions: employee support, listening sessions, Personnel changes. We are immediately evaluating managers and leaders across the company. Anyone found to have impeded the integrity of our processes for evaluating claims and imposing appropriate consequences will be terminated. Hiring practices and in-game changes. They say we have heard the input from employee and player communities that some of our in-game content isn't appropriate. We are removing that content. That's interesting. I'm curious what content they're referring to here. I mean, I guess we'll find out, as I'm sure people will notice this being removed from these different games. Now, you'll notice I mentioned before that this was posted up on the Investors Relations website, and a lot of that probably has to do with the stock like falling off a cliff. Take a look at this here. This is over on Google Finance, and yeah, Activision Blizzard didn't have a great day yesterday, as is about a 10% drop off in terms of stock price. And really, I'm sure the story, the PR going around is very, very bad, obviously. And yeah, you probably have big investors who are like, you know what, don't really want to be associated with Activision Blizzard right now, so we're gonna pull our money out. And that obviously got Bobby Kotick typing up very, very quickly for that response. But some were pointing out online that, I mean, honestly, that probably had to go through several lawyers, considering they're facing litigation right now, a full lawsuit from the state of California. So I'm sure plenty of people had to read through, and a lot of changes had to be made, considering this is going to be an ongoing lawsuit. And if they say the wrong thing there, that could cause issues in the courtroom. Either way, though, things mentioned here, we'll see. It's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Personnel changes and all that. It's we heard these kind of things before with Ubisoft, and then it turns out not a lot really changed inside of that company. So we'll see what actually happens here with Activision. And like I said, that walkout is also planned for later on today. So I'm sure there'll be coverage of that online as well. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft's fourth quarter reports that they did put out yesterday. And we're just going to focus on the gaming side of things. The overall company for Microsoft, they're doing very, very well. Tens of billions of dollars. No surprise there. But what about the Xbox, the gaming division? We can head over here on Twitter. This was Tom Warren who laid this out very nicely here for us. Microsoft's latest Q4 2021 earnings for Xbox. Gaming revenue up 11% overall. Xbox hardware revenue up 172%. Again, this is compared to the fourth quarter of last year. Xbox content and services down 4%. No new Xbox Game Pass subscriber numbers. That was something a lot of people were hoping to hear. Okay, where are we with the Game Pass subscriber count? But we haven't seen anything as of this recording. Could come out afterwards though, so we'll kind of keep our eyes out for that. As for the Xbox content and services being down 4%, I expect this specifically because third parties like Fortnite, for example, they're really, really big on these platforms, certainly are seeing a bit of a decline after fourth quarter last year, for example, here for Microsoft, as that's when a lot of people were at home due to lockdowns and other things, just mostly staying in and looking for things to do. And remember, we saw a massive spike in terms of number of people checking out things like a Fortnite or just gaming in general. So yes, when you compare it from this recent fourth quarter to last year, I would expect a lot of gaming content and services to be down pretty much across the industry. Now, they did follow this up with a conference call, and we had Satya Nadella say, "We're all in on games. The Xbox Series S and X are our fastest selling consoles ever, with more consoles sold life to date than any previous generation." You might be wondering, okay, well, how many consoles have they sold? Daniel Ahmed gave us a rough idea as to how many they have sold so far with comparisons to the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, saying we estimate that the Xbox Series X and S total sell-in was 6.5 million as of June 30th, 2021, compared to our estimate of 5.7 million for Xbox One and 5 million for Xbox 360 in the same time frame. Supply for Xbox Series X and S improved in the past quarter, with hardware revenue up 20% quarter over quarter. Now, the Xbox One did outsell the 360 early on, but we know the Xbox One really started to fall off there in the 360 over time, with mid 80 million mark, like 85 or so, somewhere in there, obviously outsold the Xbox One. In fact, the 360 also faced its own supply constraints when it came out. I remember for like the first year or so, it was very hard to find an Xbox 360. Usually you're on a waiting list at like a GameStop and they would call you whenever they get their shipments in. So seeing the Xbox Series X and the S be able to sell 6.5 million units compared to 5.7 for the Xbox One, or 5 million on the Xbox 360, being the Microsoft's fastest selling console ever, is very impressive when you consider a few things. One, it didn't launch with Halo, and that means at this time they've sold this many without any big first-party game to help kind of push it along. I mean, Halo Infinite was on the box. It was on the Xbox Series X packaging that I got, and it's still not out yet. I mean, it should be coming out hopefully here in a couple of months, we'll see. But the fact that they've been able to do this well without a big first-party, quote-unquote, exclusivity on PC and Xbox One as well, but like just something they can market next to it and push it along from their own studio, it's pretty impressive, and it does make me wonder how things will be going once those games start releasing. Will we see it continue to accelerate, especially as supply kind of gets really worked out and we start to see Xbox Series X systems start to be more available in stores? Because I do see Series S systems popping up more and more, but it appears a lot of people just want the Series X. Maybe they figure, hey, I'm gonna buy into a next-gen console, I might as well spend the extra money and get like the top of the line one. Now, the other thing to consider here is that they are also outfitting like all of their data centers with Xbox Series system blades, which means chips do have to also be allocated there as they create these different blades that you would then play using xCloud through your phone or now through your PC browser. So they are pushing a lot of these out as fast as they can. They just have to kind of figure out, okay, how many do we need here and how many do we need in retail stores, and let's build consoles. So there is a lot going on at Microsoft now, but even with all of that and the chip shortage, they've been able to outpace the Xbox One and the Xbox 360, becoming, right now anyway, the most successful Xbox console. And I gotta say, the fact that they were able to kind of weather the early storm here with Halo Infinite missing launch is pretty good. In fact, I think it sets them up really well for the start of this generation. And once those bigger titles start hitting from their first-party studios, this could end up being one of the most, or probably the most successful Xbox consoles, and that would even be over the Xbox 360, but we'll see as we go along here, though. So far, so good for Microsoft and their Xbox Series consoles. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Animal Crossing New Horizons, because it really hasn't been a lot to talk about recently. In fact, really at the end of 2020, like there were updates, but then it started to kind of slowly taper off, and there really hasn't been anything major since then. There have been like smaller things here and there, different items to kind of go along with like certain holidays or I guess seasons, but nothing really big. At least until now, it looks like Nintendo has put out an update here, also talking a bit about the future of the game. We can see this over on Twitter, where they say a free update for Animal Crossing New Horizons arrives on July 29th. Please ensure you have updated to the latest version to enjoy the upcoming weekly fireworks shows and new seasonal items. In addition to these updates, more free content for Animal Crossing New Horizons is currently in development for later this year. More information will be shared in the future, so please stay tuned. Thank you for your support and patience. I feel like that second part is the most important to Animal Crossing fans now, as it did look like Nintendo just kind of was slowly forgetting about this game. I mean, sure, seasonal items, fireworks, that's great. But the biggest thing is, all right, are we going to see some substantial updates here in the future? Because I do see some big-time Animal Crossing fans from time to time say that New Horizons is still kind of behind games like New Leaf. Like, it just doesn't have the same amount of content, and there's been a lot of hope that enough content will be added through updates to kind of even things out, or at least match what we've had in previous Animal Crossing games. Now, I have not really been keeping up with New Horizons. I played it for a bit and then kind of moved on from it, but I do understand there are a lot of you who have put hundreds of hours into this game, so I am happy to see that Nintendo has at least acknowledged that they will have more updates as they go along in the future. So here's hoping that there are very big, substantial updates, not like smaller things as we go along. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, what is your favorite numbered Halo game? And I gotta say, I'm proud of you guys because you voted correctly here. Halo 3 is indeed the best Halo game. Yes, Halo 3 at 50% there. That is my favorite Halo game. Halo 2, though, still very good. 23% there. And then Halo Combat Evolved, or Halo 1, 19%. I'm a little surprised that 4 and 5 tied, although I'm not surprised that they're both at the bottom there, with both of them at 4% each. If I had to pick between one or the other, I'm trying to think of which one. If I had to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to play 4 or 5, I kind of think I'd play 4. 5 just got too much into the realm of Call of Duty Halo. But again, if I had to pick between any of these, I'd be going with Halo 3. That is certainly my favorite one. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Mike saying, I started playing Death Stranding and I wasn't sure I'd get into it. It soon became one of my favorite games after about 10 hours of play. I'm going to play the director's cut when I manage to get a PS5. And I've thought about how we're going to look at Death Stranding, say 10, maybe even 15 years from now. And I kind of think that might be one of those games we look back on as I guess, quote unquote, a cult classic sorta. It's a game that had a lot of controversy when it came out, but I feel like more and more people have been warming up to it as we've gone along, to the point where I think people will look back on it like a decade from now with more fond memories, certainly, than when it first came out, and it was very divisive. But Death Stranding, I think, is a game it's worth giving a try just to see what you think. Maybe even rent it just to see, because yes, it's very slow going, but as you get into it, it does kind of suck you into this world, even though yeah, it is technically a walking simulator. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the whole Blue Box Studios thing. Why are they using the Metal Gear font to advertise their app coming up for Abandoned? What's going on here? Is that actually Kojima behind the scenes pulling the strings? Let me know what you think about that one. And then also, what about the Xbox Series now becoming the fastest selling Xbox system to date? And Bobby Kotick now putting out a response. Do you think there will be any actual change at Activision Blizzard based on what he's saying? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.